For decades, we've been sold a picture of the Hollywood Golden Age as pure glamour and perfect romance. It was an era of gods and goddesses on the silver screen, stars so big their every move was curated, cultivated, and controlled. But behind that shimmering facade, a generation of actors lived in the shadows, forced to hide their true selves from a world that wasn't ready for them. They lived in fear of the press, the public, and the powerful studio heads who could make or break a career overnight. The infamous morality clauses in their contracts weren't just suggestions. They were ironclad rules dictating their private lives. Any step away from the heterosexual norm meant professional ruin. This was the world they lived in. A gilded cage where image was everything and the truth was a liability. Many of Hollywood's most beloved stars were forced to choose between their careers and their identities, leading to secret relationships and convenient marriages designed to kill rumors. Their stories have often been relegated to whispers, too. Open secrets among insiders or erased from Hollywood history altogether. The pain and courage of these individuals have largely gone unacknowledged, buried under layers of studio-manufactured publicity. But what if one of those stars decided to break the silence? Imagine if, from beyond the grave, an actor chose to finally set the record straight. This brings us to a fascinating what-if scenario that has electrified Hollywood historians. Let's imagine for a moment that a tape surfaced, a final confession, from actor Glenn Corbett, known for his rugged roles in shows like Route 66. What if on that tape, Corbett did the unthinkable and named the famous men he secretly loved? Men who were sold to the world as the very definition of masculinity. Now, to be crystal clear, no such tape is known to exist. This is a speculative exploration. But by using this premise, we can dive into the very real and hidden world of closeted Hollywood. We'll explore the men Glenn Corbett might have crossed paths with and ask, what was the truth of his life? And what does it tell us about the secret history of old Hollywood? Before we explore this hypothetical confession, you have to understand the man the public thought they knew. Glenn Corbett was the quintessential handsome, all-American actor of his time. He was rugged, dependable, and projected a quiet strength. That made him a familiar face in westerns and TV dramas throughout the 60s and 70s. He was the guy you hired to play the hero. The soldier, or the steadfast son, his early life seemed to follow a pretty standard script. After serving in the Navy, he went to Occidental College, where he met his first wife, Judi Daniels. It was with her encouragement that he started acting. His rise was steady, with roles in films like The Crimson Kimono and All the Young Men, before he landed the part that made him a household name. In 1963, he replaced George Maharis on the hit show Route 66, starring alongside Martin Milner. As the thoughtful Lincoln case, Corbett drove that famous Corvette across America, becoming a symbol of adventure for millions. This role cemented his public image as a man's man, an image he built on by starring alongside giants like Jimmy Stewart, Ian Shenandoah and John Wayne in westerns like Chisholm and Big Jake. He even secured a place in sci-fi history with a memorable role in the original Star Trek as Zefram Cochrane, the inventor of the warp drive. His career was a picture of mainstream success. His personal life seemed to match. He was married multiple times and was a father to 2 children from his 16-year marriage to Judi Daniels. To the outside world, this was Glenn Corbett, a successful actor and family man whose life seemed to perfectly align with the wholesome characters he played. But if you look closer, there are details that hint at something more complex. In his youth, before his acting career, Corbett modeled for the photographer Bob Mizer. Mizer's Athletic Model Guild was famous for its physique photography, which featured muscular young men in provocative poses. While it was publicly about celebrating fitness, Mizer's work was also a cornerstone of the growing gay subculture. His magazines were one of the few places gay men could see images that spoke to them, even if it was coded as bodybuilding. Corbett's connection to Mizer doesn't prove anything about his sexuality, but it does place him right in the middle of a hidden gay world. It's a biographical detail that, when you think about our hypothetical tape, takes on a whole new meaning. To really get the weight of our what-if scenario, you have to understand the world these actors lived in. The golden age of Hollywood wasn't just about classic movies. It was an era of intense repression for LGBTQ+ people. The studios acted as moral gatekeepers, enforcing a rigid code of conduct that reflected the conservative values of the time. The Hays Code didn't just censor what was on screen. Its influence bled into the private lives of the stars. Actors were studio property. Their images were meticulously crafted and sold to the public as perfect ideals. A leading man had to be a romantic hero for women, and a leading lady had to be the soul of virtue. There was simply no room for anything in between. The slightest hint of homosexuality was seen as a career killer that could bring scandal to the whole studio. The fear was real. A single rumor or an arrest on a morals charge could end a career in a flash. Gossip columnists like Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons held immense power and could turn a whisper into a devastating headline. This created the Hollywood closet, a hidden world where gay and lesbian actors lived double lives. Publicly, they were set up on dates with members of the opposite sex. Some were even pushed into lavender marriages, marriages of convenience to create a convincing heterosexual facade. These marriages were elaborate performances, complete with photo ops and gushing interviews about their perfect lives, all while the individuals involved lived with the constant stress of being found out. The history of this era is filled with stories of incredible personal sacrifice. Rock Hudson, maybe the most famous example, was the poster boy for masculinity in the 50s and 60s. He was a romantic icon who lived in absolute terror of being outed. His agent, Henry Wilson, a man who specialized in creating hyper-masculine stars out of closeted gay actors, reportedly engineered Hudson's marriage to his secretary, Phyllis Gates, just to kill a story in a tabloid. Hudson lived his entire life behind that mask, a secret he kept until his tragic AIDS diagnosis in the 1980s finally forced his truth into the open. Similarly, Tab Hunter, the blonde, blue-eyed heartthrob of 50s, was another of Henry Wilson's clients. His all-American boy-next-door image was a complete fantasy. In reality, Hunter was navigating a secret relationship with fellow actor Anthony Perkins. Their romance was a world away from the on-screen pairings with Natalie Wood and Debbie Reynolds that made him a star. So this was the reality. Socializing happened at private parties like those hosted by director George Cukor, which were rare sanctuaries where gay people in the industry could finally be themselves. But outside those safe havens, the performance had to go on. The first name we're placing on our speculative list is one that's directly tied to Glenn Corbett's own career, George Maharis. On the surface, the two were professional rivals. Maharis was the original star of Route 66, playing the brooding Buzz Murdoch. His raw energy made him a breakout star. But in 1963, he abruptly left the series. The official reason was a bout of hepatitis, with Maharis saying the tough shooting schedule had wrecked his health. But the whispers in Hollywood told a different story. There was talk of contract disputes, but more significantly, there were rumors about Maharis's personal life. He was a gay man, an open secret in the industry. Years later, his sexuality became public after several arrests for lewd conduct, which all but killed his career. Many Hollywood historians believe the studio's anxiety over a potential scandal was a major reason he left a hit show at the peak of his fame, and who stepped in to replace him. Glenn Corbett. He was brought in as link case, but many felt the show lost its spark. The chemistry was different, and the series was canceled just one season after Corbett joined. This is where our hypothetical tape comes in. What if Corbett and Maharis weren't just professional rivals, but were secretly involved? Imagine a clandestine affair taking place right before Maharis's departure from the show. If that were true, it would change the entire story. Corbett wouldn't just be an actor stepping into a vacant role. He'd be stepping into a role held by a man he had a dangerous, personal connection with. A relationship like that would have been fraught with peril. A bond between two men who understood the risks they were taking. This claim is pure speculation. Of course, no biographies or interviews have ever linked the two men romantically. But the idea is so compelling because it fits perfectly with the drama of the era. The thought of a secret affair between the two stars of Route 66, the one who left under a cloud of rumor and the one who replaced him, feels like a story ripped straight from a Hollywood script. The next name on our hypothetical list is a true 1950s icon, Tab Hunter. With his radiant smile and chiseled physique, Hunter was the dream of teenage girls everywhere. He was the golden boy, a product of the studio system designed for mass adoration. Warner Bros. Went to great lengths to market him, setting up dates with starlets like Natalie Wood to feed the fan magazines and protect his wholesome image. Long-term relationship like Hunter had with Perkins, but a series of encounters built on a shared predicament. They were two handsome actors selling a fantasy of heterosexuality while hiding their true desires. Imagine clandestine meetings far from the prying eyes of the studios, where they found a brief but intense bond built on mutual understanding and shared risk. Now, as with the other names, there is zero independent evidence to support this. In his own detailed memoir, Tab Hunter never once mentioned Glenn Corbett. Their names have never been linked. This story exists only in our speculative premise. However, the idea of them knowing each other isn't so far-fetched. The hidden gay world of Hollywood was a small and interconnected community. Actors, directors, and crew members who shared the same secret often found each other, forming a quiet network of support. So while a specific affair between Corbett and Hunter is unsubstantiated, the idea that their paths might have crossed in this secret world is entirely believable. Of all the names on our speculative list, none carries the same tragic weight as Rock Hudson. Hudson was more than a star, he was the Hollywood ideal. For 2 decades, he was the ultimate leading man, the charming hero opposite icons like Doris Day and Elizabeth Taylor. To the public, he was the dream man. Of course, this image was a complete fabrication that Hudson was forced to live every single day. Privately, he was a gay man. His career was a masterclass in concealment orchestrated by his agent Henry Wilson. Wilson had discovered Hudson as a shy truck driver and meticulously molded him into a star, changing his name, capping his teeth, and most importantly, burying his homosexuality under a mountain of publicity. The pressure was unbelievable. In 1955, when a magazine threatened to expose Hudson, his agent arranged a marriage to his secretary, Phyllis Gates, to save his career. The marriage lasted 3 years and was miserable for both of them. Hudson's story came to a shattering public end in 1985 when it was announced he had AIDS. The news sent a shockwave around the world. He was the first major celebrity to be publicly associated with the disease, which irrevocably outed him. His death later that year forever changed the public conversation about AIDS and homosexuality in Hollywood. It's into this tragic story that our what-if scenario makes its most startling suggestion. What if Glenn Corbett and Rock Hudson had a secret affair? This would have been the most high-stakes relationship imaginable. A union between two men who had built their entire careers on an image of perfect masculinity. A scandal involving them would have been catastrophic. Imagine a relationship born of deep, mutual understanding, a shared escape from the constant performance. Again, it's crucial to say this is entirely unsubstantiated. Rock Hudson's biographers have meticulously documented his life, and Glenn Corbett's name is nowhere to be found. This story exists only within our thought experiment. And yet the claim resonates because it speaks to the very heart of the Hollywood closet and the profound loneliness of Rock Hudson's public life. The final name on our speculative list is perhaps the most legendary of all, Cary Grant. For over 4 decades, Grant was the definition of cinematic charm and sophistication. He was the debonair leading man, a true Hollywood immortal, yet, despite 5 marriages, Cary Grant was dogged by rumors about his sexuality his entire career. These whispers became an open secret, fueled by one main fact. For over a decade, at the peak of his fame, Grant lived with fellow actor Randolph Scott. Their domestic partnership was well known among insiders, and photos of them together show an intimacy that seems to go beyond simple friendship. Grant himself was famously private and never confirmed or denied the rumors. Leaving behind an enigmatic legacy. Into this enduring mystery, our thought experiment lobs one final bombshell. What if Glenn Corbett had a brief, secret encounter with Cary Grant? Imagine a single, clandestine meeting, a fleeting moment of connection between the up-and-coming actor and the living legend. Perhaps it wasn't a passionate affair, but a quiet moment of shared recognition, an acknowledgement of a truth that could never be spoken aloud in a world that demanded they live a lie. This claim is, like the others, pure speculation with no historical record to support it. It's audacious, linking a sturdy TV actor with one of the most iconic figures of the 20th century. But its power lies in its connection to the enigma of Cary Grant. It adds another speculative layer to a story that has fascinated the public for generations, reminding us that behind the silver screen's most confident smiles, there were hidden lives and truths we may never fully know. So, where does this leave us? This speculative journey, using a fictional confession from Glenn Corbett, forces us to confront the ghosts of Hollywood's past. The names we've discussed, George Maharis, Tab Hunter, Rock Hudson, and Cary Grant, help paint a vivid picture of a hidden world. While the specific affairs in our scenario are not supported by any evidence, they serve as a powerful allegory for a wider, undeniable truth. The golden age of Hollywood systematically forced its